Hello there everyone and welcome to Ambridge Rose layering guide video. So first up, I have stamped the images from the stamp set onto some white cardstock using some black ink. I'm then going to take the first stencil and I'm going to pop this little rose that we have just popping out on this cluster into place on the stencil. For this layer here, I will be using the baby pink ink to add that into place. I'm then going to move that stencil up, and this is going to add in the base layer to the larger flower in the cluster as well. As before, I will be using the baby pink ink to add the ink through the stencil. I'm just using a small blending tool, but you could use a larger one or even a smaller one if you find that's easier for you. Once that's done, I'm going to move that stencil over slightly, and this is going to add in the second layer to that largest flower. I will be using the fuchsia ink to add this in. I'm just using the same blending tool that I used for the lighter colour. Once that's done, I can move that stencil down, and this is going to add in the second layer to that flower that's peeking out from behind. Again, I'm using the fuchsia ink for that. I'm then going to move on to stencil number 3. So I've missed out stencil number 2 at this point, and I'm going to add in the base layer for the largest flower that we have over here. So this is a single flower, and I will be using the same colors as before. So I'm just going to be using the baby pink just for this layer here. And once that's done, I'm going to move on to stencil number 2. So I've gone back to stencil number 2 on this one. I'm just going to add this into place, and it's going to add in the second layer for the large image that we have. For this one here, I will be using the fuchsia ink, and I'm just using a small blending tool to add the ink through the stencil. Again, you could use a larger one if you so wished. Once that's done, I can move the stencil up, and this is going to add in the third layer for this flower here. I'm just lining it up along the edges for this one, and I am going to be using the magenta ink. So this is going to add in a third layer to this flower. The other two had only 2 layers. This one has 3 layers. So once that's done, I can remove that stencil and move back onto stencil number 3. This is going to add in the little stems and the leaves that we have on the flower cluster over to the left hand side. So for the base layer of this one, I will be using some of the parrot ink. Once that's done, I can move that stencil over, and this is going to add in the second layer to those leaves and stems. And for this layer here, I will be using the olive ink. So once that has been done, I'm going to move on to the last stencil that we have, and this is stencil number 4. So for the base layer of this little leaf cluster that we have over here, I will be using the parrot ink. So I'm just going to use the same colors as I used for the leaves and stems on the little flower cluster that we have. So the base layer was using the parrot. I'm then going to move the stencil up, and I'm going to use the second layer. And for this one, I will be using the olive ink just as before. I'm just using a mini blending tool for this, but you could use a larger one if you wanted to as well. So I'm going to use the same colors for these 2 little leaves that we have here. You can see that they're really easy to add into place. So the base layers, I have used the parrot. I'm then going to use the olive for the second layers. Now these just need to be placed into the center of those little leaves that we have there. Once that's done, that's the layering complete. We really do hope this video helps. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye.